Why does Harley still make this motorcycle? I've asked myself this for a number of different years. I've never ridden one until recently, and fortunately, I found out why they still continue to produce this motorcycle. It's somewhere in the middle. It's not quite like a Heritage yet, it's not quite like a Breakout. It's something completely different. I'm going to give you my opinion as to why Harley continues to make this motorcycle, and we'll give you the pros and cons as well. Of course, I want to hear your opinion, whatever that might be. Why does Harley continue to make the Fat Boy specifically, in your opinion? Let me know down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So the Fat Boy debuted in 1990, and Willie G had a pretty interesting perspective on this motorcycle. He wanted it to look like a rolling block of steel, I think is like one of the quotes from him back then. But essentially everything needed to be wider than what you would find on pretty much any other motorcycle. And it still carries on to today. Wide forks, wide bars, wide tires, wide stance, kind of low stance, right? I guess is probably a better way to say it. But I almost liken it to like a regular F-150 compared to a Raptor. Right? Everything's wider, everything's bigger, beefier, and that's what he was going for. A muscle bike that really stood out amongst a lot of the competition, which still didn't at that time. Now, bikes over time have gotten a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, of course. You know, now we have fairings and all that kind of stuff, and that gives the appearance of being wider too. But when it comes to the Softail lineup, even to today, it still is like one of the widest bikes out there. Now, when this bike actually showed up in Terminator 2, the movie blew up, and of course, so did the motorcycle. And this is something that I think Harley needs to lean into more, even to this day, right? Because the sales of this bike absolutely exploded, and it became an icon pretty much overnight. I mean, you can almost ask anybody, show them that set of solid wheels, and say, hey, what kind of bike is this? Maybe they don't know the name of it, but they can almost spit right off and say, hey, I think that's a Terminator bike, right? So 2018 brought a ton of changes to the Softail lineup. Of course, they get rid of the Dyna, and they throw a number of different changes at these bikes. So now the M8 is introduced, so you have the 107 or the 114. This bike has the 114. You're looking at like 94 horsepower, 119 foot-pounds of torque. You have a 5-gallon tank. You have like a 25.9-inch seat height. So it has a super low seat height. So it's not intimidating in that way, but what is intimidating, of course, is the appearance of the bike. And a lot of these changes were significant for the time, right? If you guys were around back then, you remember how mad people were that they got rid of the Dyna lineup. But they objectively made the Softails better. Lighter frames, monoshock in the rear replaced the two regular shocks that, you know, all of the bikes had back then almost. Bigger engines, more horsepower, more torque, of course, all of that. But it's not what really makes the Fat Boy the Fat Boy. One of the things that's instantly recognizable is that headlight nacelle over that Daymaker. It looks way better than any of the previous iterations, in my opinion. They made it just sharper, cleaner, wider. It almost looks wider, maybe it's not wider, but it has the appearance of looking wider and meaner, and that's instantly what I recognize with this motorcycle. You have the Lakester wheels, right? So solid aluminum, ABS coming back. We talked about the tank. You have the nice little center console. Of course, you just have your analog gauge right there in the middle. A couple little digital things, right? It's gonna be very simple, like your fuel level, odometer, gear indicator, things like that. It's really more stunning up close. And we're just talking about a fairly basic Fat Boy. It kind of makes me wish I would have saw one of the Gray Ghosts in person, because I imagine that bike just looked absolutely incredible. But here's what caught me off guard. First of all, of course, this bike had exhaust on it. It sounded freaking mean. But unlike the V-Rod, which I'm not here to dump on the V-Rod, right? That bike had a kind of like a cult following as well, but this bike is comfortable. Of course, you have nice floorboards, but the handlebars, right? If they came up just a little bit, I think it would almost be perfect. It is really a super natural stance. Here's the thing though, you can't help but feel kind of, maybe just a little cooler riding this motorcycle. I mean, it doesn't take 20/20 vision. It doesn't even really take good vision to see that this is just a bike on another level. It stands out. It's very simple kind of in its appearance almost, but it's not at the same time. You see a Sportster, or, even if you see a Heritage, right? I don't know that most people see a Heritage and are like, oh my gosh, that thing's amazing. You see a Fat Boy and you're like, dude, that thing looks good. Now, I love the Heritage, right? But I'm just kind of comparing and contrasting what you get out of like a Breakout or a V-Rod or a Heritage. It just falls somewhere right in between all of that stuff. It has the nostalgia from, Terminator 2. It has the heritage that kind of keeps Harley Davidson going in a way. And yet it's getting these little modern updates like a 114 and ABS, and of course now all the newer features that they're putting on the motorcycles. Now there's some cons with the bike, right? When you go to turn it, anything with a big rear tire like that is not going to turn as well. It's not going to feel as nimble as something with a smaller rear tire. That's just kind of a given, right? Having ridden the Breakout and even the V-Rod, I'm kind of used to that, right? And I mean, you really got to turn these motorcycles. I imagine with some pretty good crosswinds, those solid wheels might it might interfere a little bit if you ride a Fat Boy, or if you've ridden one for a long time. That's something you could let us know, of course. But it doesn't come with a windshield or bags or anything fancy. So, typically, and that's kind of why I like the Heritage so much, because if I was to pick out a Softail that, for what I like to do and just the convenience of having bags and even a windshield sometimes, I think that's the route I would still go. But this one it's just different. It's a great mixture of kind of everything. Where I didn't necessarily like the V-Rod, I thought that was kind of an uncomfortable motorcycle. I thought the Breakout was okay. The V-Rod, when it comes to a muscle type of motorcycle, has everything that Harley Davidson is good at, including being comfortable. That's, to me, the best of both worlds. If you're looking for a motorcycle for around town, bike nights, one to show off with a little bit, and one that has the nostalgia but still some of those modern upgrades, this is a fantastic motorcycle. I really did not think I would end up like really liking this bike, but I appreciated it going in as well. So there's some of that, of course, but at the end of the day, this thing was fantastic. I really, really enjoy this motorcycle, and I got super excited riding it. So there you go. There's my opinion, man. Why do they still make this bike? Well, I think we just covered all of it. But if there's something I missed, let me know down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.